What's going on, people? Welcome to the live match reaction. There isn't much to say. Everton 2. Well, there's a lot to say. Everton 2, Palace 1. Just quickly, let's get the intro out of the way. If you do enjoy the stream, hit the like button and subscribe. Some of you, of course, watch on replay, so every like, every comment matters. I'll start it off. I mean, Hamber literally just joined now, so we couldn't even have a normal discussion, but there's nothing really to discuss off air because it's good that we discuss it on air. Utterly embarrassing, spineless plays in the second half cost us in the first 10 minutes of the second half. You can't play that good in the first half and in the second half play like that. Of course, you can ask questions to the managers in terms of the chances created, but these players they just let go. They just let the occasion get to them in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Just absolutely toothless from them. After the first half, it was beyond ridiculous what I saw in the first 10 minutes of the second half. You can't make any excuses for that. Of course, Everton are going to come out and try to do something. Of course, the crowd are going to get involved in the second half. But that's where you see proper leaders on the pitch who step up, who try to slow the game down. But what did we do? We played into their hands. And that is the reason why we conceded 2 goals like we did in the second half. I mean, the first one, yes, Commander loses the ball. I thought he had a very good first half. Second one, ball in behind, easy cross, far post, it goes in. It's fucking shit. That's the best way of putting it. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And there are, questions that we will ask regarding did the manager get it right in the second half. But for me, I don't understand how you play first half as you did, where they literally have no shots on target. Second half, 2 shots, 2 goals, and it finishes. But most important, in the second half, I'm not even looking at the 2 shots, 2 goals. I'm looking at what the chances that we created. I'm looking at some of the substitutions. And yeah, second half wasn't good enough going forward as well. And there's key players in this team that are letting us down, in my opinion, which I'll talk about as well. But I'm just tired, Hambo. I'm just tired. After that first half, seeing what happened in the second half, especially the first 10 minutes, I can't excuse it. I forget about the fitness, forget about everything else. I can't excuse what I saw in the first 10 minutes. It's just spineless from everyone.
Look, it's like I'm like you're probably feeling. I don't really want to be here and talk about that game because it's for the first half we played well and it looked like how I've expected things to go this season, right? Things were starting to come together. Kamada first half looked quite decent alongside Wharton. Wharton looked like he's getting back up to speed. The balance of the team looked a little bit better. Everybody looked a little bit sharper. Lacroix was excellent first half after a little bit of a shaky start in a Palace shirt. So you're kind of looking at that, and I'm watching the game, and I tell you my main thought in that first half. Obviously, we got the goal, which let's take that as a goal from a corner. Let's take that as a positive. We scored from a corner, kind of almost. I'm gonna take that as a positive, right? And I thought 1-0. Got to half time, and I'm like, actually, I think we should have pushed because we really do need a second here because we've gone in after dominating the first half. We let them have a couple of little sniffs, and I thought we looked a little bit dodgy down Munoz's side, which we always do, and I'll talk about that a bit later. But there wasn't really anything to worry about, and I think that's the most dangerous time for Palace at the moment, is when we don't really have too much to worry about. The game's going relatively to plan, and that hasn't happened often recently. So look, bottom line is we go in at half time, and you're thinking, I think. My thought was we are comfortably better than Everton. When I think about this season and how it's going, it's not gone quite to plan. We're not playing as well as I hoped we would, and we've got some shaky areas that we need to sort out. But we're comfortably better than Everton. And there's plenty of teams in this league that I'll look at our squad and look at how we play, and I go, we're comfortably better than them. And then we go and play like we did in the second half, and all of that's completely gone out the window because no longer am I thinking we're comfortably better than Everton. No longer am I thinking that there's no danger for us to start thinking about being down the bottom end of the table much longer. We're going to be down there a while. We are going to be down there a while, and we're going to be down there a while because of 2 things in my book. Thing number 1 is left side. We have got nothing going on left side. The balance last year was that we had Mitchell overlapping and Eze was doing what he should be doing this season, which is cutting him from the left onto his right foot. And then Mitchell goes on the outside on his left. And we had the exact thing the other side. We had Munoz going down, overlapping with his right foot, Elise cutting in on his left. And that was our balance in terms of getting balls into the box, getting service to Mateta, creating opportunities, creating havoc. We were doing all those things. And weirdly, this year, the missing piece of the puzzle being we have no Elise cutting in to play the ball in with his left foot. Numerous occasions where both Munoz and Nketiah had the ball in the areas that Elise was in last year, but they didn't. They're not going to put that ball in. They're not going to play the ball in left-footed into the center of the box with some height on it from Mateta. They're not doing it because that's just not a natural ball for them to play. So you think, hold on a second, well then, but we still should have the balance the other side. Mitchell going forward has just gone to pieces. There's nothing there. He can't cross. He goes on the overlap, willing runner, cannot cross. He is absolutely wasting time at left wing back. If we play a back four, you play him at left back, fine. No problems at all with Mitchell, good player. As a wing back, we hoped he'd kick on it. He hasn't kicked on. So not bringing in competition for him, not bringing in a proper left wing back, massive mistake in summer. We've got to fix that in January. Otherwise, we're in real trouble. But we need to start playing Sarr out on the right-hand side because although he's not going to cut in and play the ball in with his left, he gets down the flanks and he puts the ball in the box. A couple of times after he came on in second half, genuinely created danger. But way too late by that point because we did not see that coming. We played that badly second half because two minor little aberrations where we've just let Everton in and they've scored from both and we didn't see it coming. So the rest of the half it's pointless trying to analyze it and say, why did we play like this? Why did we play like that? We had an entire team who was shell-shocked and had no answer. And the subs was just throwing bodies into a situation where no one really knew what to do. They couldn't get messages on the pitch quick enough or simply enough. We had absolutely no idea to how to respond. So we resorted to just hit and hope into channels and different areas and try to build momentum and try to get into the game that way. It's I see a comment there just come in from AY about Glasner playing his favourites. That is a big problem. It is a big problem playing Kamada today. You should have played anybody else in centre back, any of the options that we have. And Jefferson Lerma should be playing central midfield alongside Adam Morton. You cannot play Kamada there. I like Kamada, good player, will be a really good player for us. Very, very tidy, lots of talent. Right now, he's not got to grips with the Premier League. He's not got to grips with the intensity of pace. He's not strong enough to hold onto the ball, to hold off challenges, constantly being knocked off the ball, constantly being bodied. Take him out of the equation. Let him think about it for a while and play some players who've got Premier League experience in there. Play Will Hughes, play Jefferson Lerma in the centre alongside Wharton, and we'll be a better team straight up. And
I mean, you made some very good points, which will. There's a lot to discuss. There is a lot to discuss, but let's quickly bring in the guests. Let's try to go through the guests as quickly as possible because, of course, there's a few people who do want to have their say. If you do want to have your say, you can call into the show by clicking on the pinned comment in the live comment section to join us live. Let's start off with Patrick, who called in first. Patrick,
hey,
disappointing. Disappointing from my end, but how do you see that game? 2-1 defeat.
Gave it away, literally. The midfield, and I'm going to defend Kamada for only 1 second here. That pass coming out of the back that led to goal was horrible. But if you look at it again, Eze reaches for it for one leg. It was obviously short. Go get the damn ball. Don't get muscled off. And then once the guy that scored the goal, I forget his name. Help me out, guys. Who scored the two Everton goals today?
Dwight McNeil.
Yeah, McNeil. Once McNeil got the ball, there's nothing that could have been done about that first goal. But that could have all been prevented by either Kamada booting that thing down or Eze making a stronger effort. That part, it's easy to get on Kamada. You're absolutely right. He should be taken out of the firing line, but he's not a defensive midfielder. So stop playing him there. I just think our attack looks like the old square pegs in a round hole. I think we got guys playing out of position. And Nketiah, they're playing him the right as a 10, but he's either on the left side or he's in the middle. There's nothing coming down the right. It's just Munoz running down by himself. And I don't know, that the last 15 minutes there, it seemed like every long ball went to Munoz. There's nothing overlapping. There's nothing there. Sarr, I don't even think Sarr touched the ball on the right side to the last 10 minutes. They had him playing through the middle with Mateta. I don't know if it's running out of ideas or what. The guy comes in, the head coach here, he didn't lose his talent to coach overnight. It's just either he's playing his favorites. He's just got to adjust the way we attack. That's clear. Like you and like Hambo, you said about Mitchell, see the ball, just kick it. Don't even look up. That doesn't, just to put the thing in the box doesn't make any sense. This is pure giveaway. And now you looked at Brentford, gave that game away. West Ham could have played better. Leicester, and now teams we should beat. Everton, come on, no. It's just not good enough quality. And so, and when do you start looking at the coach and calling him out for it? That's my question to you guys, because he clearly, couple games this year, has been either out-coached or out-tactics. I mean, all Sean Dice did was prevent the right, and everything kept coming down the left, and they had it swallowed up. Second half, we didn't generate anything. Maybe a header.
No, you make a very good point. You make a very good point. I am going to talk about Glasner, especially substitutions and the second half, because I think the first half, I don't know about you, Patrick, I think it was the old Palace. I thought it was the Palace that we saw last season with the movement on and off the ball. I mean, Everton didn't have a single shot on target. Everyone was moving well. And I think Kamada was one of those players as well. What I don't understand, and that's the reason why I'm looking at the players, is how can you go from that to this at the start of the second half? Now, where I look at the manager is what happens after we conceded the 2 goals and the subs he makes and whether we're creating chance or not. But the first 10 to 15 minutes, I look at the players because they just lost their heads.
But what did Glasner say?
How on earth do we go from how we played in the first half, where on and off the ball we were controlling the game, to starting the second half like that? That wasn't on the manager. I think that was on the players. But then, of course, there's big questions to ask about Glasner, about the chances created after the 2 goals conceded. But it all happened very too quickly, and the players should have had control on the pitch.
Well, my question would be, two things. What did Glasner say at halftime? See, we're not privy to that. If we come out, blow them out in the second half, Glasner said something correctly. They come out and play like that. What did he say at halftime? You don't know. Maybe he wasn't as impressed with the first half as you were. I thought it was good first half. I just think it all started because Kamada and Eze didn't. 10 seconds of madness. Eze was very lazy getting that ball because it was a horrible pass, but Eze could have gotten it and just kicked it out or whatever. I think it's just, if he's trying to recreate Elise, you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to change the way you play. And we're going to have to change. We're playing a little bit more direct now. So Sarr's faster than Mateta. But I've read in the chat here, people real quick. They criticize Mateta and think Mateta can't do anything with the ball in the wings. And all season, he's getting the ball in the wings. He's the one firing it in the middle. I mean, you got to feed him. I mean, just like we did last year. And we're not doing it. And Hambo said it. Nketiah is not the type that's going to put the ball in the box there like that. So clearly, we are playing with square pegs and round holes, and it's the manager's job to change it. Because we all know if this was Roy Hodgson, y'all would be on him like flies on it. I mean, we have a good squad. This is a legitimately very good squad. I'm not trying to be arrogant, but we really probably have our best squad since we came up. Is that fair to say? This squad here.
Yeah. In terms of squad, I think we've got a very healthy squad.
In
terms of options and depth. There's some Sarr's coming off the bench, which is a plus, and we got other players that could come off the bench as well. We even had Channel today. We could have come off the bench.
I mean, we used to start guys like Will Hughes all the time. Now he's coming off the bench. I mean, so I think people will say the excuses. Okay, we had all the people playing for England and the international. All that is correct, just like every other team in the world. But we are underachieving. There's now a lot of teams are in the league right now. West Ham look like garbage, but the point is we're looking just as we're not consistent. So something's got to change. So he's a good manager. So just do it. Because there's no more excuses. 6 games into the damn league. Come on.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Let's
see what exactly happens.
Can I just say, I think one of the key issues when you're when we're talking about when do we question Glasner, which was the original question Patrick asked, and the answer to that is now. You know, you do question the manager, and you're quite right. He hasn't turned into a bad manager overnight. So one of his strengths last season was just getting the players to kind of work the system exactly how he wanted, which was, it was. I mean, I don't even remember the analysis that was done. I forget who did it, but it was fascinating. I think it was 4-4-2. They did some really good positional analysis of how the players react when they lose the ball. You know, who moves into which position when we move into different areas of the pitch, and it was so cohesive. It worked so well. There was always a covering player. There were always two passing options. Now, I think because we haven't had the results, we're panicking, we're chasing the game. You know, one stage Eddie Nketiah was down in the left back position, the ball went forward, and you got Mateta looking for him in the right channel, but he was playing left back 3 seconds ago, so he's not going to be there. And that's the problem. If you break the system, if the players lose their discipline and they break the system, the whole thing comes falling down. And that's not the manager on the sidelines. The manager on the sidelines is like, oh, okay, well, you're not doing what I said, so how can I possibly coach you to improve? But that's not a get out. That's not a get out for Glasner, because that shows you that the issue that we have is how he's setting us up and what he's putting us out there to do isn't really working with the team on the current confidence, the current level of momentum. So we need to do something a bit more simple. We need to give players something a bit more comforting, you know, in terms of, well, you know, let's just go into this next game. Let's not try and be too clever about it, you know. So today, for example, we go 1-0 up. You know, 1-0 up is a great opportunity to kind of think, okay, we've got something to protect for once. So let's just back each other up here. Let's not start the second half thinking about scoring the second goal. We will think about that, but let's start the second half thinking about how we deal with the problems that Everton were causing, and actually start to think about what Everton going to do in response. Because what Everton did in response was work out where they were getting joy. They were getting joy in the gap between Munoz and Lacroix on the right hand side, and they were, you know, and every time they switch play from right to left really quickly, from their right to their left really quickly, we seem to struggle to get back. Lacroix was much better, but he is a little positional suspect in the right centre back position. So that's basically what they exploited in the second half. We then try to react to that during the course of the game. It creates all sorts of space. McNeil takes advantage of it from Kamada's slip up in the first goal, and the second goal, you know, free at the back, free at the back. So, you know, I think let's not get overly caught up in thinking about the manager's not doing this, not doing that correctly. We are currently suffering a confidence crisis. That is what's happening with the team right now. We were trying to play ourselves into momentum. We're trying to get certain players used to each other, used to the Premier League, used to the system, and it's a struggle when you're not winning a game. We just need to win a game.
You're right, but I think for the current crop of players, I think it's kind of obvious. Got to change the system. You can't. Nketiah is a striker. Forget the whole 10 thing. No, he's a striker. So play him there. So play a formation that you have Nketiah and Mateta at the top, because it's this 3 at the back. It's not working right now. It's just not. And it just looks like, to me, it's square pegs and round holes. It just looks like the attack. Nobody knows where they should be. I don't know if players are breaking the system or the adjustment's been made. Teams have figured out his system, so it's up to the manager to adjust it. So if you I don't know enough. I'm not going to lie. I'm a novice when it comes to systems and adjustments and things like that. That's why the managers get paid the bucks. I'm not one of these guys that plays FIFA and thinks I know what I'm talking about. I just go with what I observe. I just think, for me, a 4-3-3 would work, playing 3 midfielders and having Sarr on the right. And I mean, Eze can play. We don't really have anyone on the left side that can do it, but Eze's done it before. So he always cuts in on his right foot anyway. I mean, to me, that would be the simplified approach. So I don't know. Maybe you guys can ask other people coming in, because I'm taking too much. It's a frustrating loss, and it's one that shouldn't have happened. It just shouldn't have. And now we have Liverpool, which means we'll draw with them and get a point next week. All right, guys.
All right. Thanks for calling, Patrick. Take care. That was Patrick having to say there's a few people waiting behind the scenes as well. We're going to try to bring them on. But if you do want to call in and have your say on the game, make sure to click on the pinned comment where you can join us live. Just quickly, thank you for the super chat from Sam, saying these players don't seem to fit Oliver Glasner's system. let's bring on Cody next and ask him the question. Cody, 2-1 defeat to Everton. Do you agree with Sam? Do you think these players don't fit Glasner's system, or is it something else?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just like Patrick said, Nketiah is clearly not a 10. He's got to be at a striker position. It doesn't fit. I mean, you can tell Nketiah in situations where when he gets the ball passed to him, he's expecting the best way to play Nketiah from what I've seen with Arsenal. They give him the ball as he's running toward the goal, like as a poacher. And Nketiah sitting back and playing behind the striker is just not working for him. He's not familiar with it. He's played a certain way with Arsenal when he was with them, where they feed him the ball as he's running towards the goal, and he gets just a quick poacher goal. It's just not how he plays. He's just not used to it, and I think we're playing him in a position where he just does not fit that position, that role. If you're going to do that, I mean, you got to either play Mateta or Nketiah if we're going to play the formation we're in. And play them, maybe Nketiah come on as a sub or Mateta coming on as a sub and playing Kamada in his role. It just doesn't fit him in that position. But other than that, man, takeaways from the game. There's a few things that I've kind of thought over here. So we'll go to Kamada. Midfield for Kamada is not it. I can understand he can pass decently. He didn't do a great job today. Obviously he had a missed pass. Patrick might be right. It could have been Eze not running up to the ball quick enough and just sticking one leg out, getting there. But at the same time, it's like if you're making that slow of a pass, you shouldn't be making that slow of a pass in the first place. It's not his natural role. And the other question is, we had Trevor Chalobah sitting on the bench today. Why? Why were we not having Lerma play at midfield and having Chalobah have his start at center back today? If we had that big of an issue physically at the midfield, Lerma could have played that physical position for us beside Adam Wharton, and we could have had Chalobah back at the other center back position. I don't understand the choice in the starters for Glasner today. It's kind of head scratching to me when we could have had better people in better positions today. And should have had I don't want to say easy win because it's not an easy win ever in the Premier League, but a better chance at a win today with players in the positions we had them at today. It just didn't make sense. It didn't make sense to me at all.
Yeah, I think with Chalobah, I think the answer for Chalobah is that he hasn't had a proper preseason even with Chelsea because he got left out and he just came back from an injury. So maybe that's the reason why Chalobah didn't start today. But then again,
too. We could have had Klein back.
I think I didn't even personally. I didn't have a problem with Lerma starting at the back, and the reason for that is because I know there'll be more direct with the balls over the top, etc. Yeah. And I think Lerma is better in the air than Nathaniel Klein. However, for me, I think the first half everything was going well, relatively well. I mean, we could have potentially scored another goal. For me, the second half collapse is just not normal. It's not normal. For you, what do you think it was, the second half?
Well, like you said, as soon as you started the video, we're toothless. Like, it's like we just gave up. It's like we got the 1 point lead. We came out after the half, and it felt like they just knew we were destined to win the game with just one goal. It's just like we didn't have any urgency. You could tell when we got the ball pushing, we wouldn't even push the ball downfield. We had plenty of chances to go push the ball downfield on a counterattack, and we just stood the ball up. We'd keep it at midfield and just try to pass it around. As soon as we put Ismaila Sarr in the game, he was screaming for the ball for us to go over the top to him. And I think we did it maybe once after he came on. But every time I saw Ismaila Sarr run down the pitch when we're trying to push the ball, before we stopped it at midfield, Ismaila Sarr was making that run every time and was beating his defender. I don't understand why we weren't kicking the ball over the top to him. That's Ismaila Sarr's bread and butter for us. Kick the ball over the top. He's got enough pace to beat the defender off the back end. And even if he can't take the shot, if he catches it at his feet, we got to have Mateta running down the pitch with him for at least a pass into the box to give him the ball to his feet to give Mateta the shot. It was just we were just stopping at the midfield when we could have been pushing the ball. Even there was times I was looking at the screen. Munoz had his hand up on the outside when we were stopping at midfield, resetting. We got guys flying downfield where we could have given the ball over the top, and we just weren't doing it. I don't know if it's just we're lacking in the awareness offensively to push the ball and get those passes in, or if it's just if Glasner's just telling them to slow the game down, which it could have been. But if that's the case, man, if we're down 2-1, why are we trying to slow the game down? We need to be pushing and pressing on them. We have to change. We can't be playing their game. We got to start switching it and playing a different way to throw them off. And the way of doing that was pressing the ball downfield, pushing it downfield, playing the ball over the top to either Sarr or we tried Munoz a couple times, didn't work. I think Munoz was getting covered once they saw him on the outside with his hand up. But there was plenty of chances where I even saw Eze cutting in with Mateta as we're trying to counterattack the ball downfield. But as soon as we got to midfield, we'd stop. We'd start kicking around the back and trying to progress our way passively to get the goal. But obviously it wasn't working. So my understanding is why were we not going with the pushing the counterattack harder at the end?
Yeah.
Because like you said, we seemed toothless. We didn't have any aggression to get downfield anymore. It's like as soon as they got second goal, we hung our heads. It's like, well, are we trying to just play the game out as 2-1? Or are we Glasner telling him, hey, we're going to slow the game down and try to make this a draw?
I don't think Glasner would say that. Glasner's approach, so ever since he's come to Palace, has always been, even when we're drawing games, has always been, let's push for more, even by his subs, even in the Leicester game, for example. He's not type of manager, and that's why I do look at some of these players, and I just think it might be a confidence issue, but some of these players play at the very top in terms of for the national side as well.
Yeah.
Like, you're not, like, all right, cool, some of them are still young. I'm not saying they're like 31, 32 years old. But they've been playing in the Premier League. They know the expectations. They've been linked with big clubs. If you want to play at the very top, you need to be dealing with this. You're going to have much worse than Goodison Park. You will be. And that's the embarrassing thing for me. The way we started the second half, we just couldn't recover from it. After the first goal, we just couldn't recover. And that's what annoys me the most, because you are not going to be successful if you let your head drop just like that for 45 minutes. And then afterwards, it was just, it was very annoying. But look, Cody, great having you on. Great talking to you as well. And you made some very good points. So hopefully we catch up with you after the Liverpool game, because I don't know anymore. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how to feel anymore. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to any games until I see something different. I'll be honest.
Yeah, we're just. I feel as a Palace fan base, we're starting to slowly lose confidence, which isn't good, because we saw what happened when we lost confidence at the beginning of last year. It just got toxic and stuff. I understand. We're not playing to the capabilities we should be playing at, but it's still early in the season, so we'll see how it goes. But we did, like you said, we got a tough game next week with Liverpool, so we'll just see how it goes. But thanks for having me on, D.
Coming on. Take care. Let's bring on Andy next, who's been waiting for a while. Andy, welcome to the show. I can see players up there from your title under your name. So do you think it was just down to the players in the second half? Is that why we lost the game? Or do you think manager plays a part as well?
No, it's not the manager. It's not the manager. We've seen this under Roy. I know we've still got a lot of players, from back then. Back when we had Roy, we'd go 1-0 down, or a team would get a goal back, and then about 3 minutes later, they'd score again. It felt like that again. That, like you said, I think someone mentioned earlier, the heads dropped. Again, why are we going through this again? How long have we not had that atmosphere? I never thought we'd go back to this. This is how it feels. That first half, granted, I wasn't overjoyed, because I knew, our record at Goodison Park, it's not brilliant. But that was the best half of football so far this season. We were so fast, like going forward. And then the second half, we slowed it down again. And another thing, I am ranting on because today is
lay it out.
What on earth was Eze doing before McNeil hit that shot? I know the pass was bad, but he received the ball, the touch was awful, and then he didn't even bother trying to track back and win it. He has been doing this all season long. It is about time he got dropped. He's meant to be our ball carrier. I know Elise's gone. He done the hard graft of that, but it's Eze's mantle now. He's got to step up. He's not stepping up. We can't keep, hiding the fact that he is part of the problem. He's been so lackluster without Elise.
Yeah, it has. It has. And I think Eze, I was going to discuss Eze as well. Hamba, I don't know what you think about Eze, but
Yeah,
for me, I am getting tired, and I'll say it here as well. I am getting tired of trying to play the game at his pace. I'm getting tired of that. Sometimes I do feel like he needs to speed it up. Look, it just hit and miss when he does that. Like sometimes he just slows it down too much for me. He just plays at his own pace, which I don't think suits this style of football, which is crazy because he wasn't doing this last season. When you're playing counter-attacking football, you can't slow it down like he does. And for a player, and that's what I meant about probably 20 minutes ago when I said it's time we have a conversation about some of the key players in the squad. And Eze is a key player. Eze has been a player linked to big clubs, and he has had decent opportunities. I'm not saying every single game has been bad this season. But he's had quite a few games, in my opinion, anyways, from what I've seen from him, of him playing and trying to run the game at his own pace and sometimes slowing it down a bit too much, which does not help us. But what do you think of it?
We're back to talking about Wilf, but it's just not Wilf, it's Eze. We're back to talking about that in terms of the talisman, right? The player who's going to be the one that unlocks a defense or gets the goal. And when somebody has to play like that, there's two things that happen, right? The first is the scrutiny on every decision that they make is incredibly high. We're looking at them to be the pivot point of whether or not we create a chance or we don't, or we score a goal or we don't. So, of course, we really do notice when they don't play the pass correctly or get the shot away correctly. So, he's always going to get probably more stick than others because he is that focal point for us. And when he had, we're going to harp on about Elise a lot this season. I know we are. But when he had Elise in that team, it was the same when, go all the way back to when we had Balassi on one wing and Zaha on the other. It freed both, and Eze needs to be freed a little bit because, and I think they thought they would get that when they brought Nketiah in because, the two know each other pretty well. That they were excited to play together. And I honestly thought that was the kind of strategy behind it. It was get those two in the side. They'll figure out a way to play together. Mateta will play off that. It will be great. It'll be free flowing. And it just hasn't happened. But I think going back to where Eze really does deserve criticism, and it's when it isn't going for him, because the second thing that happens is in terms of being a focal point is that the opposition will try and mark you out of a game. So they'll really focus on what he does. So what he likes to do is receive the ball with his back to goal and spin, move past a couple of players, create space, right? Moves really quickly. So you stand off him, and that's what they're doing. A couple of players will stand off him, let him get the ball and turn, and all of a sudden he can't turn and beat players in the same movement. He has to turn, then beat them. That gets people a chance to come back. It's when people say that they're learning Glasner's system or they're learning how Palace play. That's what they mean. They mean that they're coaches, scouts are doing their job and they're looking at how we do things best. So Eze has to be smart enough and good enough to change what he does. And right now, he isn't doing that. But if you're having a bad game, if you're not getting on the ball like you want to get on the ball, you're not affecting the game the way he wants to affect the game, you're absolutely right. What he can't do is not chase down the ball. What he can't do is not put a tackle in here and there. And what he can't do is go missing. And unfortunately for him, his response recently seems to have been to go missing a little bit. And that does cost us. And that's why, you're getting a comment here from Andy about we should drop him. Now, in my head, my instant reaction to that is, of course, why the hell are you going to drop your best player? But if he's not your best player because he's not playing very well, questions will be asked. But for me, it's much more about how do we get back to giving him the kind of freedom. And I've got some ideas about how we should do that. You know,
I have an
I think
idea.
they're probably for discussion another time. You have. Go for it, Andy.
It's got. I mean, it's obviously because he's been out for 6 months. I think Franca is the answer. I know that sounds
But I don't
absolutely
think
crazy.
there's a lot of pressure on him as well. Well, what people tend to forget, even me as well, is we didn't buy him for like £2 million. We bought him
20,
for quite
yeah.
a substantial amount of money in terms of, in comparison to some of the players that we bought in and around the squad. Bought him for around 20 million to 25 with add-ons. And it's funny now, but there was even like a Ballon d'Or clause in that deal. That's how much highly he was rated. But Andy, looking at the next game against Liverpool, would you say that Glasner should be doing a bold move like that? Because he wasn't even in the squad today, Francois.
He made comments, didn't he, saying he's been out for 6 months, he doesn't want to risk it, so we ain't going to see Franca. I would possibly like to see Sarr alongside Eze as the two tens. Then they can drift out wide if need be. With Nketiah up front, not Mateta. I think Mateta's blowing out of his ass. Sorry for my language. He is knackered. That guy, he's not used to international football, coming back, doing regular football, going back out with his country again. You can tell he's blowing. He's not the same.
Yeah, I agree. And I do want to talk about Mateta and the substitutions as well. But look, Andy, great having you on. Hopefully we have you on after the Liverpool game where things are a bit more positive. But right now, I'll be honest, it's looking bleak. It is looking bleak from my side anyways. But let's see. Hopefully things do change. But great having you on and great calls and some great points made.
See you later, guys. Thank you.
Take care. I think the Mateta conversation, Ambo, is one worth having. But as always, people, if you do want to call into the show, you still got time. You can click on the pinned comment. It does say call in now to have your say. Just click on that link and you can join us live right now. If you are enjoying the stream, please hit the like button and also subscribe if you're new to the channel. That helps us out massively. So thank you to all of you that have done that. As you can see from my face, by my tone, it's frustrated. I am pissed off. But
Can I
Can I
introduce some what I consider to be interesting statistics? I say statistics, just stuff. Have I got time for that? Can I say some stuff?
Let me quickly read out the super chat, and then we can.
I can let you do that.
Super chat saying, "Don't lack talent, but heart and organization." So yeah, I think I agree. We've got talent in the side, but go ahead, Hambo, before bringing.
And on that point of Sam's, it's kind of a little bit where I'm going, which is, again, it's not about what's being coached. It's not about what's being talked about. It's about reactions, isn't it? It's about in-game reaction. It's about how we deal with adversity. It's about how we just basically, if you don't take your chances, we had a couple of other sort of chances in the first half where we perhaps should have done a little bit better. If we go in half time and we're 2 up, I think we stroll through the rest of that game. I don't think Everton come back. We just gave them too much, really. But we started the game. A lot of people defending Kamada, and I will say again, I do rate him. I do think he's a good player. He was statistically our worst performing midfielder.
What was it?
He had 49 touches to Wharton's 86. His pass completion 85.4. He got a rating of 6.4 on all the statistics that who scored go against. So again, not detailed analysis this time, but Wharton outperformed him, and that's why Wharton was on the pitch for 88 minutes. Again, Nketiah was probably the worst performing forward. They say statistically Mateta was probably worse because he had fewer touches, but I think Mateta played his role the way he had to play his role. And that's I think kind of what I want to go to. And I don't know if this is going to work, D. I don't. I'm going to try. If I click present.
Yeah, it should be working, yeah. If you share your screen, everyone else can see it as well. But whilst you're doing that, let me quickly say my part whilst you're bringing it up. Then, of course, when it's on the screen, we can discuss it. With Mateta, it's interesting. It's interesting because I didn't really understand the sub of Schlupp for Nketiah. Nketiah might not be right-sided number 10, which I don't think he even had a bad game in particular. I think when he had the ball, majority of the time is either winning fouls or trying to lay the ball off to someone else. I think Mateta was the one today that was barely on the ball. Maybe you can look at the delivery, etc. But I didn't really understand the sub of Schlupp for Nketiah personally.
No.
I think that was confusing because Nketiah, if you're looking at how the game was going, you're looking at Everton sitting back, and you need players that are comfortable playing in tight spaces on the ball. And I would rather have Nketiah on the pitch than Jeffrey Schlupp. So that was a bit confusing to me. He did change the system and he had 2 up front, but why would you do that? Like, put Sarr out wide, let him have that support from Munoz, then have 2 proper forwards there. Or if like it, yeah, it was baffling. It was baffling. But do you want to present the stats on the screen? Or
Yeah, and is my screen presenting anything right now?
It might be at the bottom. If you look at the bottom,
I just can't see the 2 things.
Okay, yeah.
One
On the
sec.
bottom of StreamYard, you might be able to see.
Oh,
your
yeah.
screen.
I got you. Okay. Got you. You can see that now, right?
Yeah, here we go. I can see that.
Look,
And by
it's
the way,
like a
people, we're going to be
tactics board.
bringing on guests as well. Just quickly, let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here we go. I can see
I'm
that.
like
Shall I
Gary.
bring it on?
I'm like Gary
Or
Neville,
you
right?
bring it on? Yeah. Shall I bring it
Can
on?
you see that?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Let me bring it on.
You can see onto the stage. There we go.
There we go.
So that's how we lined up today. Yeah, you'd agree with that? Got Kamada and
Yeah.
Wharton in the middle, centre and midfield. There's the wing backs. So I don't really have, that's how we started the first half. Okay, so in terms of what I'm thinking, though, the problem we have here, I've been talking about, is Eze, right? So Eze's occupying this kind of space here. So you got Ty going down the left-hand side. Problem here, can't cross, can he? Let's face it, nothing coming in there. So Mateta's your guy there. Nketiah's supposed to be back post clearing up. Eze going for the cutback, and that's basically our method for scoring. And obviously midfield push up as we're getting through. We're going down left-hand side, but Ty can't cross. So immediately that doesn't really work. So same happens the right-hand side with Munoz. Munoz goes the right-hand side, but he doesn't ever put a ball in. Doesn't ever cross like in a traditional sense.
Yeah, he likes to cut him more.
Yeah, likes cutting it. He might drill a ball back down here. So Mateta, again, as a traditional centre forward, you'd think be peeling off back post. You'd be looking at Nketiah coming in here, something like that. Again, Eze should be hovering around this general area, and he should be whipping that ball in. Just trying to create a little bit of havoc. Again, midfield should push up. Ty mopping up at the back if he overhits the cross. That's how it should work. That's what Glasner will be telling him to do. Doesn't work. Munoz doesn't want to cross for whatever reason. It just comes back here, gets knocked around, the midfield come up, and you end up with what Everton did today, which is they parked their team across the front of the penalty area, and we had to go and break them down and pass in front of them. So I don't really, what I'm saying here in terms of when we're talking about the tactics, I don't actually know what we're trying to do. What are we're trying to create? So again, with the constantly mentioned Elise, let's say Elise is currently Eddie Nketiah. He would cross from this area here, wouldn't he? About here.
To far post.
Left-footed, far post, whipping that ball in. Sometimes he'd drill a shot near post. Sometimes he'd drill a shot far post. From these general areas. And we were at the time, Eze doing the same from this side. So we're absolutely formidable. And that's why Mateta was playing the way he's playing. Because these guys, they can shoot or cross. And both are equally as dangerous as each other. And it doesn't matter which one's got it. It's an absolute nightmare for the opposition. Nketiah, we can't ask him to be Michael Elise, can we? So going back to my point, if we go back to the setup here, as to what we're currently setting up as, for me, if we're going to persist with this, first thing you do is Kamada, out you go. Excuse me, Will Hughes, in you come. If we're gonna cover the current absence, if Chaloba's not fit, if Chaloba's fit, he comes in where Lerma is. Lerma then plays alongside Wharton, and Will Hughes goes back to the bench. For the time being, we say Will Hughes. But this front three, that doesn't work. That does not work. And Nketiah's not getting on the ball, not getting chances enough. Mateta's trying to run both channels and is getting knackered. So just shift him across, bring him up, play a 2, and then give Eze an absolute free roll here. And the only right way you can do that is you can't really do that if you've got Kamada in midfield with Wharton. because he's not strong enough to carry that. He's not strong enough to occupy these spaces. The balance goes. So you have to have a Lerma or you have to have a Will Hughes play, you know, and because they're going to have to break up play. They're also going to have to be box to box. Your perfect kind of player there is Conor Gallagher. Box to box, doing everything, shooting, tackling, passing. But that, you know, that's again just an example. So Doucouré comes in, you've actually got a problem. You can't really play like that either because Doucouré is too much of a screen, and then Wharton's a playmaker. So that's a problem for another day. But I just thought I'd illustrate what I'm thinking, and I just think where we are right now, this is what we got to do. We got to just say, okay, abandoning the 2 10s behind a Mateta. Let's give Mateta half the pitch. Left-hand side, half the pitch. We've seen him run these channels and score from these channels before. Let's give Nketiah less responsibility, trying to chase back in these areas, and let's put him up alongside Mateta and have the two working together. Eze will get fewer chances, and he'll get marked out of the games just as much as he is right now. But he's free to roam that pitch, and then everybody else keep it tight behind and just play like that for a couple of weeks. Get the confidence back, and to me, that's what we have to do.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A change is needed. A change is needed, like one way or another. A change is needed because it's not working as effectively when you look at the 90 minutes. We had great 45 minutes, but the second half, that's when we did fall off. And I think it goes down to the midfield of that balance. I think in the first half, we were controlling it well, but when the pressure actually came to us and Everton were playing football and they changed it up, that's when we got exposed once again in midfield because, and this happened too many times. This happened against West Ham as well when Kamada went in midfield and they just ran past us. It's happening in this game. Kamada in midfield, it just doesn't work for 9 minutes. I think there might be spells of a game where maybe you might be a bit behind and the team's defending. So if the opposition's defending, then maybe you can bring on Kamada because you know you don't have to rely on him as much offensively because they're sitting back. Let's say at Leicester at Palace, where they're just 2-0 up, and then you have Kamada on your side. That's fine because you just come on off the bench. It's fine because you know Leicester are not going to be attacking you; they're just going to be sitting back. But when there are teams who are going to be pressurizing you, when you have the 2-man midfield and one of the guys in the midfield can't defend because he's just not physically able to in the Premier League right now, especially whilst he's adapting, that's when the problem lies. And that's when the balance word comes into play. And we got stunned in the start of second half. One, I think I still believe in the mental toughness of the players because, like, in terms of what I believe in is that they lacked the mental toughness because we just folded too easily. But then again, when you look at tactical view, yes, that midfield, there's always going to be questions there, but he keeps persisting it. He wants it to work. Tried it against QPR, tried it in this game. United, he just wants it to work, but there comes a point where you just look at it and say, you want it to work, but is it working? Because it's not only one game, we've had quite a few games.
It is close though, right? Again, I know there's a lot of
negativity.
Midfield.
I don't think it's close with Commander midfield yet. First half, it was good, but second half, like you can still see it. It's just it's not going to work. With Commander midfield, the balance will not be there for 90 minutes. Alongside Wharton, if you don't have Doucouré, either Hughes or Lerma. That should have even been the case going into United. I know we got a point against them, but that should have even been the case going into that game. Because Lerma and Hughes can provide a bit of balance. I think Lerma on the ball, I'm not comfortable with Lerma on the ball. I'll be honest. I'm not comfortable with him on the ball. But what he can do, which will be needed, even looking at the next game against Liverpool, is that he can step in and do the dirty work defensively, especially when they've just scored the first goal. However, after they scored the first goal today, within a few minutes, we didn't have that dirty player that could, get in midfield and stop it because it's too easy. Lerma's playing defense. It only changed after we conceded 2 goals and when Lerma went in midfield. So yeah, we need that balance and that midfield balance. If you can't control midfield, then forget about it. Like you lose it all. And I think that is where we are getting exposed right now. Anyways, sorry for everyone who's been waiting. Let's bring on Tim next. Tim.
Frustrating, man. Really, really frustrating. I don't know that I have a lot to add because I tend to agree with most of what you both are saying. When we have played at our best, we have been formidable in the midfield, and we've had good balance in the midfield that allows us to get passes into the final third. I can't remember the last time that I've seen Wharton put the ball on JP, on Ebbs, making a run into the final third. I just can't remember seeing that. We are getting overrun right now in the midfield, and that's a serious problem. Every time I've watched Palace over the past several years, when the midfield is getting overrun, which is, I mean, that makes sense, right? Football is football. If you can't work the midfield, if you can't dominate the midfield, or at least be competitive in the midfield, you're done. And this is what's happening. That was terrible. That was really hard to watch, particularly that second half, and very discouraging because the first half really was pretty good in some areas. I thought Lacroix had a particularly good first half, and then I thought he looked very shaky in the second half. It's it's hard to understand exactly what shape that we. I mean, I think Hambo, you make a great point about what shape we should consider right now. I'm not sure I'm convinced that JP and Eddie playing up top as a 2. I mean, maybe we need to try it exactly the way that you've just drawn it up there. But so far, I just haven't seen it, and I wonder if JP needs a blow. We need to run Eddie up top as, the lone striker, and then put Sarr and Ebbs behind him. I mean, I would like to see us figure some things out. I don't think we have a settled 11. I don't think we're even close to having a settled 11 right now, which is extremely disappointing. Having said that, I mean, it's 6 games in. It stinks. I hate it. I did not like watching this game. I still believe in this manager, but I do think he got it wrong. I think he got it wrong today, and I don't think we're playing with any kind of chemistry that makes me believe that we have patterns of play that are going to cut the opposition open, to the point you made before, Hambo. I mean, at the end of that second half, the most frustrating thing I saw, and maybe I'm being a little too harsh here, but it's get the ball down the left or in the middle, look for the pass over to the, switch the play over to the right, hope that Munoz outjumps Branthwaite, and he did it a lot, to be fair. I mean, we did get the ball out there, and then see if we can get something, anything, but same play over and over and over and over again, and it just not coming off. Like, that is a sheer lack of ideas. That's
hopeful. Hopeful.
That's
just hoping for the best, doing the same thing, hoping for the best. That's nothing in terms of, oh wow, that's good patterns of play. No, that's just hopeful. Just lofting it to Munoz, expect the Munoz to head it.
Yep.
And then hoping for the best. There was one occasion, I think, where it got put in the middle and maybe Mateta was just a bit off it, but still, that's not good enough. But then again, Tim, in the first half, I thought we did have the patterns of play.
I thought we were decent.
So what is it then?
Well, I mean, in that first half, like that goal comes from. This is why I'm not going to kill Kamada on this, because I'm. Don't forget that goal comes off because Kamada wins the ball at the top of the 18-yard box. He gets it back, delivers it to Wharton, who delivers the pass to Lacroix, who gets the header, the assist, and Mark bundles it in. That's Kamada that wins that ball up high. He was okay in the first half, but I think we just completely lost our composure. And I struggled to explain that, D. I don't know why we lost our composure like that in that first 10 minutes of the opening of the second half. I really struggled to see that. I would love to hear what the manager says about it, because I don't think the quality is lacking. I think the chemistry is clearly lacking. We are not playing with a level of consistency that we need in order to create. Like, even I think this is one game where I think stats just lie. Like, we have 17 shots, 5 on target, Do I feel like we had 17 shots? It didn't look like it. Not in that second half. We looked pretty toothless in that second half. So I don't know where the extra 8 shots came from, but it didn't look like it. But anyway, look, let me get out of the way so other people can get in and have their say. I'm deeply frustrated. But I know the quality is there. I don't know how we need to have a consistent front. Like when we were really at our best, we had a strong midfield. We had a really good. We knew that Adam Wharton could be the one that could deliver a pass into the final third. We were absolutely incredible. And then we had a triangle. We had a 3 that were absolutely incredibly dangerous. They could either hit it from the outside. They played well with each other. We don't have any of that right now, and it's hard. I am so desperate for it because that first half made me believe for a second, and I'm just super disappointed. But hey, man, I mean, look, we go again. So let's figure something out here. But anyway, man, it's disappointing, but I should get out of the way here. But so up to
All right, Anthony. Great call. Thank you so much. All right, Anthony. Take care. That's him having his say. Let's go through. Bring on Stan next. Stan.
All right, lads. How you doing?
Defeat 2-1. What do you make of it?
Let me just adjust my hat so it looks better on screen. I thought first half we were really good value for that 1-0 win. 15 touches in the opposition box. I thought we actually controlled the game. They didn't do too much. I thought Ndiaye was causing us a little bit of problems, cutting in down the left. I don't understand how we've managed to come out in the second half and deliver that absolute disgrace of a performance. Like I don't understand. And I just obviously like I've been listening to the show, so I've been hearing what obviously you've been saying, what Hambo's saying. Those outlets on the wings, I don't get this new system, man. Like we're trying to play it through the middle. Like what are we trying to do? Like it doesn't work. It stinks. If you ask me, I'm sorry. Like it just doesn't work. Like and Sean Dyche is like he's a master tactician playing against Palace, man. Like he absolutely knows what to do when he goes ahead against Palace. He just sticks so many players behind the ball, and once you're losing to one of his teams and you're a Palace team, forget it. You're pretty much toast most of the way, in my opinion.
Well, what about the players today in terms of the 2 goals conceded in less than 10 minutes in the start of the second half? After the first half that we had, some of the blame go on the players as well? I'll read out some of the
100%. Some of the blame. Some of these players need to take a long, hard look at themselves, in my opinion. I think Kamada and Eze can both blame themselves for that McNeil goal. Lads, that first goal was an Ashley Young assist. How are you letting him have assist against you? Like he's 39 years old and he's just completed 90 minutes and got an assist against us. Like, do you realize how bad that is? Like, it's terrible. I think with like something's got to change here, like formation wise. Like, and to be honest, it should have changed after West Ham. Like this Daichi Kamada experiment has got to stop. I'm not saying, write him off, don't play him ever again, but he's not cut out for the Premier League at the moment. He's weak. His passing is terrible. He can't influence a game. He's not a centre mid, and you've got 2 centre mids there with Premier League experience, So play one of them. Don't why is this guy falling on his sword for Daichi Kamada? Like, I don't understand. Like, can you guys enlighten me maybe?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it. Yeah, Kamada, if you don't really understand that ourselves, I think in the first half I think he looked settled. In the second half, I mean, when Everton started attacking, then he got exposed.
I think you play him like I think he's had some decent, like he'll have a decent impact off the bench.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing. Like if there's certain points of a game where you think it'd be quite useful if you're trying to keep the ball in the final third and you're up. It'd be quite good to bring on. It'd be quite good to bring on for one of the forward players if you wanted to rest them in the last sort of 10, 15. He's a tidy player, but he's not pulling up trees, and he's certainly not the kind of foil for Adam Wharton that Glasner thinks he is. And I think it is one of those situations where just the psychology of Glasner really wanting him, telling the club, look, go get me this player. He was sensational for me at Frankfurt, but he was sensational for him at Frankfurt playing exactly where Eze plays, not playing in central midfield, not playing right side. It was the left side 10, wasn't it? So basically what he is he's a if Eze's in bad form or somebody buys him, he's a replacement there, isn't he? That's what he is. So let's not try and shoe on him elsewhere in the team. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
I will say one thing, going back to your point, obviously, about creation, about being able to create chances, Hambo. You look at Tyreek Mitchell, right? So Tyreek Mitchell is a solid 6, 7 out of 10 Premier League fullback every single week, right? But he's a fullback, he's a left back. So what they're trying to do now is they're trying to get him to do the overlap. The guy doesn't have any trickery, okay? And it's just never been a part of his game. He's never been a tricky wing back, right? Like you said, his crossing, 1 in 8 crosses might do something, but it's not there. We just don't have, Palace teams of the entire Premier League era have always had an outlet on one wing or another that causes other teams problems. And we just don't have that at the moment. I don't understand why he's persevering with this formation of playing it down the middle and doing this. It's not going to work, guys. It's not going to work. And I think he's going to sort it out. He's got to sort it out, or he will find himself. And I'm not saying necessarily from me, but this manager's going to find himself under pressure if he doesn't start seeing the error of his ways with these team selections. Seriously, what's it? 6 games in, no win, 1 point from Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, and Everton. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And he has gone out and asked the board to bring him certain players, and they've done it. Okay. People say, Nketiah wasn't good enough today. He's not playing him in his right position. Mateta's knackered, and he's got no, what's it called? Mateta has no understanding with some of these new players, and that's where we find ourselves. It's shocking to think that we were so reliant on one player last year. Really?
Yeah, but he's a quality player. He's a quality player. But yeah, we have to adapt. We have to adapt. But look, Stan, let's see what happens. But great having you on.
Cheers, guys.
Again.
Two more things. Franca. I heard there was a chap on here. He was saying Franca might be the difference. I don't know, man. I think there's more chance of Franca going on loan to Fleetwood Town at the moment than there is him being a difference in the Premier League. That's just my opinion. Secondly, just for a laugh, I bought this shirt at the end of last season and I wore it when we beat Villa 5-0 on the last day. And I thought this is going to be a great shirt. I'm focusing on retro kits, etc., etc. Where are we now? I think the shirt's got to go in the drawer, lads.
It does. It does. It does. Maybe that could be the difference maker. Well, look, great having you on, Stan.
Right. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Very quick, just to address a couple of things. Sorry, yeah, we know it's Franca, but it's a squiggly thing under the C. It gets confusing. But just because lots of people are saying, that Kamada is a scapegoat, just to kind of repeat what I think pretty much all of us have been saying throughout. We think he's I'll say what I think. He's great. He's a very, very good footballer. I'm not trying to scapegoat him. I don't think he's responsible for all of our problems. I just think, he is an example of where we're trying to push something that isn't quite working. I think the best thing to do with a player like him is to give him minutes, but just not start him every game and not play him centre midfield, because I don't think it's fair on him. I think by the end of the season, he will be up to Premier League pace and physicality. I think he'll get there, and I think we'll see a really good player second half of the season. I just think at this stage where we're struggling, he's an area where we're making a decision that just seems illogical. And again, I'm just saying, just basic statistics of, running, passing, tackling, positional, like that stuff in that role, he's underperforming, statistically. So just bear that in mind. We're not trying to. I don't think I'm speaking for everybody. I don't think anyone's genuinely trying to scapegoat Kamada and say he's rubbish. I see a lot of stuff said about some of the players we brought in. There's people been writing off Lacroix after 3 games in the Premier League. It's an incredible difference playing in the Premier League. It really is. It's faster. It's more physical, and the scrutiny is incredible. So it does take people time to adjust. And we've made a lot of changes to our squad, and some of those were very late. And Glasner didn't hide from that, being annoyed about that. He mentioned it again this week, didn't he? He said first time since September he'd had everybody together that he wanted together.
We saw it in the first half.
And he's just like, it's the first time he's ever had it in his career where it's taken until the last week of September to get everybody together because of international breaks, injuries, Olympics, all that kind of stuff. Is like he's felt like he clearly feels like he's weeks and weeks behind where he needs to be. And frankly, we have been playing a little bit like that, so worth thinking about.
Yeah, it's interesting that Glasner still hasn't spoke, or he might have, but we haven't got no quotes.
Oh, I've got some comments if you want them
from Glasner.
Yeah, so he said we controlled most of the first half, but we've had a bad 15 minutes straight after the second half kicked off. We lost the game in those 15 minutes, and we lost the momentum or moment, depending on what he means. In the first half, you could hear their crowd booing a little bit. They were not pleased with the performance of the home team, but we gave the momentum to Everton straight after half-time. It was an easy goal and our mistake. It was a long ball from Pickford. We knew it was the same after kickoff. It was a stupid foul in the corner. We cleared the free kick, but lost the ball again. Great finish from McNeil. But they got the belief back in the momentum. And then the second goal is again a second phase after a set play. It was a wide free kick. We cleared it, but we were not ready for the second ball. We tried everything. The players gave everything until the end of the game, but you could see we got a little bit more nervous at the end because we wanted to get the equaliser. We didn't find the right spaces. They defended with everything they had and celebrated every clearance in their own box. Within 15 minutes, we lost the game today. It's really disappointing.
Yeah, I agree with the 15 minutes, but it's about the chances created after that 15 minutes or second half performance. That's what I'm frustrated about. On top of that, from the players letting their heads go. Let's bring on Jack, who's been waiting for a while. Jack,
hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good. Thank you for
sorry, no cameras. I couldn't get my camera working, but
no worries.
It's kind of hard, obviously. It's hard not to recycle stuff that's already been said, to be honest, but major talking points, obviously, just the formation. I mean, the system, the strategy. I think Ebbs was really disappointing today. I think I get your point, Hambo, on Ty. I agree. He's not a Robertson. He's not these left backs that can whip balls in for fun. However, I think giving him the right opportunities in the right spaces, giving him the ball on the run, he can get the ball in the right position in the box. However, I have to say, I think Ebbs holds him back so much. I think when you talk, I think you made a great point, dear, about how Ebbs plays the game at his own pace, at his own speed. There's times when, if we're playing that 5 at the back, we need to overload one side. When things aren't going our way and Ebbs picks up that ball, he's picking it up on the halfway line. It's only our central defenders that are actually behind him. And then I think, if you're looking at Ty, he's marked. What space has he got to run into? JP is holding, he holds the centre of that pitch well. He goes wandering when he needs to. But I just think in terms of opportunities down that left-hand side, it really takes the game when you've got Ebbs sitting that deep. I think it's really hard for him.
Yeah, I do agree. I do agree with especially down the left. It's just the balance, Jack. I don't know about you. Just the balance is off. It's off. Do you think it's down to the front three still with Nketiah to Eze? It's just not working in terms of having Nketiah and Eze as the number 10s. I mean, thinking about it now, of course, I haven't got the stats with me, but I'm thinking about the amounts of times Eze and Elise linked up. And I'm trying to think about the amounts of times Eze and Nketiah's linked up. And of course, I don't have the stats on me, but by the eye test, you can see that they don't really link up as often as they should. I'm not saying they never link up, but the connection isn't right there. And I think we saw it kind of in the second half. I know Nketiah got subbed off, but that attack is just not working in the system with the two number 10s.
Yeah, 100%. I think with Ebbs and Elise, you add the joy of two very technical players. I think you can give Elise that freedom, and we can't be talking about him all season long. He's gone now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. However, what I think is, Ebbs ain't playing his best football. With Eze, he needs someone else to take the pressure off his shoulders. When they were really firing, you see JP. They were, you had Wharton splitting that back, that midfield, breaking the lines into JP. He was bouncing off, he's bouncing that ball off people for fun. 1-2s, little flicks, great play. I think where we're struggling now is when Ebbs cuts in on the right. You've got Munoz dashing down the right hand side, but I think where the difference is Elise was also cutting in. So, they're changing the direction. If Elise cuts in and we're playing this formation, you've got Munoz running down that right-hand side and Elise's bringing players inside. Whereas you don't get that with Eddie because he's not a 10. He's not. And I think when you're talking about changes, I think the stubbornness right now is so hard to deal with. I think even if we're really clutching at straws, why don't you switch Ebbs and Eddie? Let Eddie play on the left hand side, because Ebbs is he's a playmaker. You give him that ball deep on his right foot on the right hand side, he'll whip a good ball in. Are you really going to get that from Eddie? So why not change them two? Let Eddie have a bit of joy trying to cut in as well. He's a finisher. So I just think little changes like that. It's just, I think that we need to make tweaks to try to bring the best of players. But I wanted to really drill into Wharton as well. I don't think it's been talked about much today. I think his confidence is absolutely shot to pieces. I think that is the main thing. We talked about tiredness, getting back into the swing of it. I think his confidence is gone, 100%.
Yeah, because Wharton's normally that player who plays the forward passes and finds the spacing behind. But in the second half, when we needed his passing at times to try to break everything down, he just weren't there. It wasn't the same Wharton. But do you think with Wharton, the fitness issues at the start of the season, which we're finding out now, I don't know, today he looked better in the first half. I don't know if he's still 100% fit or not. Do you think that could be the issue, or do you think it's down to confidence purely?
I think it's obviously a mix. When you look at us at the end of last season, there's a lot of expectation. It's not started well, and there's clearly a big. I think we've got a lot of confidence players. 100%. A lot of our players thrive off confidence. I think the start of the season wasn't great. He had, Wharton had some issues, but I think a big problem for him right now is our midfield is so all over the place. I'm not even going to get started on Kamada because it's been talked about, since the beginning of his time with us. I think we need to try something different. My head dropped as soon as I saw the team sheet today. I just knew what was coming. I think first half was good, but I believe that Everton made us look better than we actually were. I'm not saying we were bad. I do think we were good. A lot of our kind of transitional play, a lot of our link-up play was better, but I think they gave us a lot of respect like we did to United. United aren't world beaters, but we made them look phenomenal for that first half. And I think that's kind of similar today. And I just think Adam Wharton is really struggling with the sense of, with the injuries, with the confidence, but he's just not got that opportunity. Again, with Ebbs dropping so deep, Wharton's spending 90 minutes playing sideways balls because he's not got that opportunity to bounce it into Mateta. If he fires it into Mateta, he's got no one to feed onto it. So Mateta's got to try hold it up, and he's struggling. But I think there's a lot of issues. I mean, my main frustration today was definitely how when things didn't start going well, Ebbs really did sit deep, and I just think he can turn up. He can turn up that pace so quick. But when you've got a team that are a goal up and they've got their banks of 4, 10 men behind the ball, how much can Ebbs really do with it?
Yeah. Look, Jack, great call. Hopefully call again. It'll be great to have you on again. Hopefully on better conditions. But thank you for waiting as well. And make sure to call in again.
Yeah, no worries. Cheers, guys.
All right, then. Take care.
Cheers, Jack.
That was Jack having his say, and I think that's it for the calls. Because I think
I've got to go and make dinner. Come on, mate. It's 20-7.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's 20-7. Yeah, you got to make dinner.
Yeah.
And I have to go and play FIFA and take my anger out on whoever's outside.
Actually, I don't think it's called FIFA anymore, DR. I think we're fine.
Okay. All right. We know the game
hasn't been for some time. Just
well, FC25 then. All right. I didn't realize you have an ambassador for FC25.
What if they think about it? What if they want to sponsor us? You know, get these things right.
If they do, then I'll call FC25. But for now, it's FIFA.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, because I'm not watching any. I think Liverpool are beating Wolves, but there is no way I'm watching football. So yeah,
no
to watch. And I'm just I'll probably go through some comments, see what the players and the manager's saying. I know you read out the comment.
Wharton's.
Look, what happens is, shall I tell you how it works? Watching that in the second half, just quickly, I was like, all right, cool. The match reaction, I'm gonna do it. We've done it before in these conditions, even worse conditions. But there's no way on earth it's gonna calm me down. But at the end of every single show, after hearing what everyone says, it gives me a bit of, I don't even know what, a bit of like peace and calmness. Like, all right, cool.
Yeah, it's therapeutic, isn't it? Yeah. It's nice. It's nice to share your annoyance, because once you vocalize it and let it out there, that's it. It's there. It's out. You know. And look, we all have perspective. Like we can be really annoyed and really frustrated by watching the game, but you know, I don't think it's not a crisis, is it? It's not the end of the world. Like maybe in 10 games' time, if it's still happening, we'll change our tune. But you know, we've got a decent squad, and you know, there's worse things than getting fed up watching Palace for a little bit, isn't there? So, but yeah, fingers crossed, we can just keep improving certain areas and learn from our mistakes. I think that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Yeah, learning from the mistakes, that's massively important. But look, we're gonna wrap it up now, people. If you have enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button before it does end, and also let us know your thoughts and questions in the comment section down below. I don't know if I'll be answering them tonight because I'm not in the mood, but I'll probably go through them tomorrow. If you have enjoyed the stream, thank you so much to all of you who's also called in as well and left in your comments. Unfortunately, we couldn't go through every comment. There's a lot of people, but we really appreciate them all. But that's it from me and Hambo. And until next time, up the Palace.